Okay, so sit yourself in cross legs. Just go into a cross leg position where it feels as though you can release your knees down to the floor and just spend a moment just to feel that you are sitting evenly. So just have a little roll over, move the buttock flesh out to the side and back, and then hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest and draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just spend a moment or two listening to the sound of your breath, focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations, long, slow, deep, deliberate exhalations. Just look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Just focusing on filling both lungs evenly, listening to the breath as it enters and as it exits. Lifting the heart area up towards the ceiling just to wake up the body, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. And then bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together, lift up into the chest. And with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. So listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, filling the lungs evenly, and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom, emptying them evenly. Aiming to fill the lungs gently and softly without resistance, because non-resistant inhalations brings deeper energy into the body. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Raise the chest up to meet the chin. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude. Something, or someone, or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area as you release your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold on to your knees, lift up into the heart area, elevating the heart area upwards. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And with the exhalation, turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen from the left to the right, so that your belly button is pointing at the right knee and beyond it. Drawing the abdomen across, the ribs and the shoulders. Lifting the heart area, digging the back hand into the floor to give you more space as you lift to move more deeply into the turn with an exhalation. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees. Lift up into the heart area, elevating the chest up to the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Again, drawing the abdomen across. So you really wake up the spine by turning from the lower spine. So try and get your belly button to point at that left knee and beyond it. Elevate the heart area upwards, lifting the spine up to the ceiling, and then using the out breath to intensify the turn slightly. And then come back to the center. Come off your lift and then sit back on your heels for a moment or two. Just get your legs to really soften into the mat. So if you're on a soft floor, then your shins will make better contact with the floor than if you're on a hard floor. So I've got carpet and quite a thick underlay in here. So on top of my mat, I've got that underneath. So my shins make really good contact with the floor. But when I'm working on like a hard floor, then I have to work harder to activate my shins. So it's good to just activate the shins anyway, just to press the shin bone into the shin skin. At the same time, drawing the heels apart slightly, so pressing the big toes together really firmly and then trying to almost separate the heels from one another. Lift up into your heart area and then maintaining the connection, if you can, between the seat bones and the heels. Just walk your hands forwards, keeping the seat bones down, lifting the heart area upwards, working with the breath, keeping the out breath as a moment of extension, keeping the in breath as a moment of recuperation. So keep pushing the heels apart, pressing the big toes together. Lengthening into the arms so that you open up the shoulders. Press the forehead firmly into the floor. And really extend into the arms, turning the tailbone down towards the heels. Breathing deeply, just normally. And then come up onto your knees, turn your toes under. And then with bent knees initially, come up into dog down, keeping the palms spreading like you're stretching cling film over the mouth of a jar. So the palms take the weight of the hands, not just the heels of the hands. With the knees bent, try and lift the seat bones and the tailbone up to the ceiling, keeping the heart area consciously lifting towards the arms, and then straighten your legs. Tighten your kneecaps. Activate the thigh muscle. Press the thigh muscle into the bone and up the bone. Pressing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs broaden outwards. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position. And then align the edge of your feet with the edge of the mat so that your feet are as wide apart as the mat and the big toes are turned inwards. Stamp the big toes into the floor, stretch out into the little toes, and then lift up into the heart area, raising the arms up towards the chest up towards the ceiling, squeezing the elbows towards each other behind you. Hit the shins back so that your weight is in your heels, and then raise your arms, urdhva. If you've got a bad back, then you're going to come forwards, just bring your hands onto the back of a chair with the arms straight. Otherwise, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, and then hinge at the hips. Keep the head lifted, keep the heart area driving forwards as you hang down into uttanasana. Just feel how this pose activates the physical body. Observe the stretch of the muscles. Observe the length of the spine as gravity draws you downwards. But that only happens if you really activate your legs firmly, pushing the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees, pushing the shins through to the backs of the shins, turning the fronts of the shins inwards, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting the backs of the thighs from the back of the knee up towards the seat bones. Stamp the heels deeply into the floor, hitting your shins back so that your weight is in your heels, and then press the heels into the floor and try and almost slide them apart from each other, but keep them down. Keep the heels sliding apart, and notice that you open up in the hips just a little bit more. And then release. Your hands just come into half uttanasana, extending the chin and the chest forwards. And then bring your hands into your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then just come up into standing position, just come into Tadasana. So the inner edge of your feet together, lift your head and your chest up to the ceiling. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in toward your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart for trikonasana. So use whichever equipment you might need. So a chair if you've got bad hips or discomfort. Turn your left toes in and the right leg and foot all the way out. So you're really turning the inner thigh. Turn this inner thigh out so that the pelvis remains facing the front. Lift up into the chest, stretch the arms out, and then just come over and find the shin. Or use the chair, just using the back of the chair. Now, in this pose, if we don't really think about it, then all of our weight drives into the right foot. So everything feels like it's collapsing downwards. Just bring the top hand onto the hip and just feel that actually, if you just don't really do very much, then everything collapses down into that right leg. And that doesn't feel energized at all. So consciously from the left hip, press down into the left heel. And just doing that helps you to lengthen into the spine. So really consciously from the left hip, stamp down into the center of the left heel, hitting the shin of that left leg back. And then draw the abdomen from the right to the left, look up to the ceiling. And then reach up with the top hand. It's like you're trying to reach up to the sky. And then see if you can stamp that left leg firmly into the floor so that you can distribute the weight of the body from that right leg into even distribution between the two legs. Just take even inhalations and exhalations. And then reach up, come back to the center. Just swap the feet around. You can rest your arms for a second. Just have your hands on your hips for a moment. And just feel how you can draw this right leg this time from the hip down into the heel, tightening that kneecap, pressing the shin of that right leg back so that your weight goes into your heel. Turn this front leg all the way out. Keep that back heel really firm. Keep it really hard, firmly pressing into the floor as you come down. So if you can maintain the firmness of that back leg as you come down, then maybe you'll notice that there's an even distribution between the two legs. You're right there, Andrew. Yeah. So you can just do the first stage if you want without coming over to the side, just using the chair, but just, or you can just wait in Tadasana. And then reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Good, and then come back into Tadasana. So lifting up into the chest, elevating the chest up to the ceiling. And then stretching your arms out in front, interlocking the fingers, turning the palms all the way out, and then raising your arms over your head. Trying to wing the arms beyond your ears, trying to keep your Tadasana as level as you can. Just release your arms, swap the interlock of your fingers, turn your palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. And then gently release your arms. We're going to do padangusthasana, which is a standing forward bend. Now, if you've got a bad back, I'm going to show you how to do the pose differently. So if you've got a bad back, rather than coming all the way down, you're going to come into kind of a half uttanasana shape with this belt, and you can do this if you can't reach the floor as well. Use this belt so it's tucked underneath the big toes, and then come forwards with a straight back, and you keep your back straight, and you just come halfway, and then you have a little tug of war with your toes. So you come as far as it feels safe for your back, and then you stamp those big toes down and try and rip them up off the floor, and keep extending the spine forward. So if you can't reach your toes, if you know you can't reach your toes without bending your knees, or you've got a bad back, use the belt. Otherwise, we're going to go in with the hands. So have the feet hip width apart, turning your toes inwards. My mat's at a funny angle and it feels like everything's out of line. So let me just... So feet hip width apart, turning your toes in. Stamp the big toes really firmly into the floor and then spread out into the little toe side of the foot. And then hit the shins back, turn the fronts of the shins and the thighs inwards so that the backs of the thighs feel like they broaden outwards. And then raise your arms. And then keeping the legs straight, keeping the back straight, hinging at the hips, come forwards, reaching forward into the middle of the room. And then keep coming down, but keeping the chest lifted, trying not to round the back. So even when you can reach the floor easily, keep reaching into the middle of the room. And then take hold of the big toe with the index finger and the middle finger underneath the big toe, and then the thumb wrapped around the outside of the big toe. And then reset the legs. Hit the shins back so that your weight drives itself into the heels. Turn the fronts of the shins inwards. Broaden the backs of the thighs outwards by turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. And then project the chin and the chest forwards. So hitting the legs back, turning the fronts of the legs in, broadening the backs of the thighs out, lifting the seat bones, projecting the chin and the chest forward. Stamp the big toes firmly into the floor and then try and rip the big toes out of the floor like you're trying to pull a nail out of the floor. Keep the chest extending forwards, keep the back straight, keep the shoulder blades drawing in. If you can come down a little further without bending your knees or rounding your back, then bend your elbows out to the side, draw the body into the gap between the legs. Keep activating your legs as you were doing. Keep that tug of war with your big toes going. Breathing evenly and deeply listening to the breath. And then release the toes, come into half uttanasana, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. Just breathing in through the nose. See if you can feel that the legs almost feel longer. Can you continue to project the chin and the chest forwards? And then walk your hands towards the end of your mat. Have your hands shoulder width apart. And then step back. Have your feet hip width apart. You spread out the palms, distributing your weight of the upper body into the palms, not into the heels of the hands. And then let the head hang down. Just breathing evenly and deeply. And then come down onto your knees and then just sit back on your heels. Just sitting back on your heels, lifting the chest, drawing the shoulders down, just observing your energy. Just filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And then just come down onto your back for supta, baddangulyasana. So soles of the feet together, your knees are apart. And then rest yourself down into supta, baddangulyasana, holding onto the lower ribs, just letting the hips open up at the groin. Breathing evenly and deeply. Just soften the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then bring your knees towards each other. Have the knees together and the feet apart for a moment. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side. Just giving yourself a gentle massage on the spine. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. Okay, so we're going to do a forward bend. We're going to do janu sirsasana. So you might need a belt for this, and you might want to sit on a folded blanket, perhaps, if you feel that you struggle to lift your chest when you are sitting on the floor. So you might want to sit on the folded blanket. So if you sink in the chest, if you kind of roll onto the backs of the seat bones and you can't roll onto the fronts of the seat bones, then sit on a cushion or a folded blanket. So just roll over and move the buttock flesh out to the side so that you're sitting really firmly and distinctly on your seat bones. So just make sure that you find that levelness to begin with, and then stretch your legs out in front. So you can have your feet hip width apart to start off with, just to give yourself that space to kind of lift the front rim of the pelvis forwards towards the tops of the thighs. Have your hands at the sides of the hips and then lift up into the chest. And then see if you can bring the feet together. Just breathe evenly, deeply listening to the breath. Just spend a moment, just see if you can stay lifting in the chest, or if it feels more effort to lift the chest than it should. If it does, sit on the lift. Just bring the left knee out to the side. Try not to disturb the seat bones as you bring that left knee back, and then bring the foot so that it's in line with the inner thigh. Try not to lose the toes underneath the leg. If this knee is high up in the air like this, then just support the head of the knee with a block. If the outside of the thigh is down on the floor, then that's fine. Bring your hands into the sides of the hips and then turn the chest so that the chest is facing that straight leg. Keep this leg sweeping inwards from the little toe side to the big toe side, not rolling out like this. So keep the big toes pointing towards the ceiling, turning the chest to face the leg. Now, if you know you can't reach the toes, then just throw a belt around your foot and then hold onto the belt and then lift the chest again, trying to turn the chest to face the leg. And then bit by bit, you just come forwards, and you always come forwards with the heart area lifted. So you come forwards, just shortening that distance until maybe you can't reach the foot. That doesn't matter. But if you can reach the foot, if you know that you can reach your foot, then you can do it without the belt. So if you're doing it without the belt, raise up with the left arm, raise that left arm towards the ceiling. And then come forwards, lifting the heart area up to the ceiling, and then reach around the little toe side of the foot. And then just hold onto the foot and lift the heart area, smile. And then get hold of the abdomen and then draw the abdomen from the left to the right so that the abdomen is directly over this leg as well. And then reach around the little toe side with the right foot, reach around the big toe side with the left foot, and then keep lifting up into the chest, lifting the heart area. And then maybe a little bit at a time, bend your elbows out to the side, drawing your body along the leg. If you can reach beyond the foot, then do, keeping the head lifted, keeping the heart area lifted. So we're trying to come down, but we don't want to drop the head too soon. We want to drop the chest to the leg, keeping that leg turning inwards. And then when the chest is on the leg, then we bring the head down. But feel that you can lengthen that left side from the hip into the armpit. Just breathing evenly and deeply. So janu sirsasana. It's really good for digestion and good for the liver. So just come down a little at a time, keeping that straight leg firmly activated, keeping the front of the thigh turning inwards. Okay, and then lift your head and then come up into a seated position, just observing that quietness in the brain that comes from coming out of a forward bend, and then just straighten out that left leg and then reset on the seat bones. Bring your hands to the sides of the hips and lift up into the chest. Bring your toes together. Turn in the thighs inwards. And then bend the right leg, keeping the seat bone in place. Bring the foot as high up into the thigh as you can. And then sweeping this left leg from the little toe side to the big toe side. So the hips stay level. Just reach up with the heart area, bringing your hands into the sides of the hips, using the belt if you need it, or reaching up with the right arm. Take a deep inhalation, keeping the heart area lifted, keeping the head lifted. Reach and find the little toe side of the foot. Lifting up in, so pulling on the foot, pushing the foot into the hand, lifting up into the heart area. Get hold of the abdomen and encourage it to go from the right to the left so that you're directly over that straight leg. And then reach around the little toe side with the left hand, the big toe side with the right hand, and then gently lifting the heart area, lifting the head. Come forwards. If you can reach around the foot, then do. But try and keep that straight leg turning from the little toe side to the big toe side. Bring the chest down onto the leg first, and then bring the head down. So with a forward bend, we always come forwards with the heart first, not the head. Just breathing evenly. Feeling the stretch across the back. Feeling that stretch from the right hip into the right shoulder, into the right elbow, into the right armpit. From the right hip into the right armpit. Okay, and then just lift the head and then come back up into the center. Stretch your legs out in front and then come into cross legs. Just again, just observing that quietness that comes over the brain when you come out of a forward bend. Just lift up into the heart area, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation, and then with following exhalation, bring yourself around to the right side, drawing the abdomen across the ribs, across the shoulders, across. Sitting on a lift if it's difficult to lift the spine. Drawing the belly button to point at that right knee and beyond it. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees. Just lift up into the chest, take a deep inhalation, and with the following exhalation, turn to the left. And then gently come back to the center. Just hold onto your knees and lift up into the chest. Just breathing evenly. Just listening to the breath. And then come down onto your back. Just come down into supta baddangulyasana again. So pulling the feet down in towards the seat bones or up towards the seat bones. Pressing the heels firmly together, using blocks underneath your thighs if you need them. Pushing the heels together, lifting the chest, and then raising your arms. Interlocking the fingers, turning the palms of the hands all the way up to the ceiling. Don't worry about cracks and pops, that's good. Keep the thumbs together. And then release your arms along the floor. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, bring your hand onto a lift, like a folded blanket or some blocks. Otherwise, just extend your arms along the floor. Maintaining the mindfulness of the physical body. Keeping your focus on the sensations of the pose. And then release your arms. Swap the interlock of the fingers. Do the unnatural interlock. Turn the palms all the way out. And then raise your arms over your head. Again, just letting the breath be soft. And then release your hands. Just bring your hands back onto your lower ribs. And then draw your knees together. Have your knees together and your feet apart for a moment. And then just for a short time, we're going to go up into setubandha. So get a block and then lift the seat bones up off the floor. Gather your shoulder blades together so that you come right onto the tops of the shoulders, and then place the brick into the sacrum area of your back. So even if you are just keeping your legs bent, this is a gentle inversion. So you got really lift up into the chest. Take hold of the sides of the mat and try and rotate the inner crease of the elbows to face the outsides of the room, so you come right onto the tops of the shoulders, so you're really lifting the chest. And then one leg at a time, just stretch that away, bring it back, stretch the other away, bring it back. If that feels okay in your back, then just stretch both legs away, feeling that you really open the front of the pelvis, front of the abdomen, bringing good energy into the chest. And then bring the legs back, bring the feet back to the block, and then just lift yourself up off the block, maybe come up onto your tiptoes to do it. Adjust your shoulders on the way down, and then draw your back down onto the floor. Pull your knees in towards your chest just to stretch out the back. So have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. Get hold of the outsides of the feet and then bring the feet apart in happy baby. Again, just having a little rock from side to side, just experimenting with where the feet go so they can go closer to the body to work down into the lower back, or you can bring the feet apart a little more just to iron out the creases in the middle of the back. So happy baby, it's a good way to just stretch out your back. And then gently release. Just get your blanket, make sure that it's well folded, and then have that underneath your head. Come down onto your elbows. Make sure you're in a really good straight line right down the center of your mat. And then move any equipment out of the way if it's in the way. So your arms just out from the sides of the body a little so you've got space in the armpit. And then close your eyes and allow your body to release into the floor. So let the muscles of the arms and the legs release completely. Letting the arms and the legs become heavy on the floor. And the torso and the head and the feet and the hands become heavy on the floor. Because out of that heaviness comes lightness radiating out from the bones. Radiating into the muscles and into the organs. And into the flesh and the skin. Distribute that feeling of lightness evenly down into the tips of the toes, into the tips of the fingers, and up into the top of the head, using your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of lightness. Just basking in that feeling of energetic lightness. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers. Just bring yourself back into this pose of shavasana. And then bend your knees, draw your knees in towards your chest. Have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then very gently roll over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg. Just bring yourself up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in Namaste. Just a final spinal lift. Drawing your breath, closing your eyes, drawing your breath in through the nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. That good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then radiate some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you are just full of good, positive energy and lots of good energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.